was pre-9/11 compared to life post-9/11 in the U.S.?
Pre 9/11, life for me was pretty much like life for everybody else. We were basically going through the motions. We felt America's the greatest, no one's toppling this great superpower. Money was flowing, the economy was up. Rappers were on television with $300,000 platinum chains, driving $100,000 cars that we paid for in cash, by the way. Life was fairly good in that sense. There was a certain degree of security. That security led to a certain degree of apathy. Apathy about justice, apathy about politics, apathy about saving money, economics, investing money, all of it. Then, well, for me personally, I began to do an album. I started to feel something was getting ready to happen. I know this sounds corny now that everything has happened, but in all honesty, I started to really feel like it's not like you know what's gonna happen, but that you start to feel like just the tension in the air. It's like things are so good that it's just like this tension just starts to flow within the air. And it all really started with the 2000, when George Bush was elected president or selected president. It all started then. Right from that election back, pre-George Bush election, there was this haphazardness, this apathy, this everything's all right, this certain kind of arrogant security that we all felt. Hip hop, by the way, never really felt like everything was all right because our perspective on reality is a little different. But we too felt comfortable with the money we were making. We felt comfortable with the notoriety and the fame and the doors that were opening up to us. We didn't care really that George Bush was selected as opposed to elected. We didn't really care. They ain't got nothing to do with us. We're gonna just party till the wheels fall off. We're just gonna ride till the wheels fall off. And that was the attitude in my specific community. George Bush gets selected. The hip hop community said, wow, that was crazy, but we still didn't care. Then 9/11. Now, just before 9/11, I had put out an album called Sneak Attack because I just felt like there was something getting ready to happen. So I put this album out called The Sneak Attack. And I'm on the album dressed as a soldier in an urban environment, getting ready to kick in a door to some urban environment. We was like in the projects, but I'm a soldier. And that's the cover to this album called Sneak Attack. The first video off the album Sneak Attack is this record called Hot. And I was basically, it's an MC battle record. You're not hot, all you do is talk a lot. Where's your respect on the block? But the video to this record was me leading hundreds of people across the Brooklyn Bridge as the Twin Towers was on fire. Oh yeah, my video. This is the video before 9/11. In addition to that, I took this video to BET, and they immediately rejected it and said, you know, we don't want to play this video. And not for the 9/11, not for, no one knew what was going on. It had nothing to do with the Twin Towers, anything like that. Anything. It had to do with the fact that it was just a conscious rap video, and BET didn't want to play that. They felt that their demographics was more towards sex and just irresponsible college behavior. And so they rejected my video. 9/11 hits. When 9/11 hit, I was doing an album called Spiritual Minded. It was a gospel album. I was in the studio in Atlanta doing this album. The day I woke up to do that, another portion of this album, my wife wakes me up and says, turn on the TV, check this out. And boom, another plane hits the towers. I jump up, wow, this is incredible. But what I noticed, though, was the way in which the buildings began to implode on each other. I know that I was there when the Twin Towers was built in the 70s. My mother used to take us when they was building the Twin Towers, my mother used to take us there. And we used to look, and she'd say, this is the World Trade Center, and teach us about the World Trade Organization, the IMF, World Bank. We knew this when we was 8 years old. This is my mother, by the way. And we grew up on this, so we was like, this Trade Center. So when that hit, my own personal feeling was that this is the day I grow up. Everything I thought from I think I was 37 at the time, or 36, 37. From the time that happened, from 37 all the way back to 1 year old, is now erased. And from this day on, I was gonna be living in a new reality. That's the first thing I felt. And I felt this, I said, wow, this is crazy. But I felt a pride came over me. I felt this American thing come over me, which me as a history major, I wanted this feeling. I could never understand how black folk could fight in the Civil War. I could never understand how there were some black folk that fought on the side of the South. I could never understand how black folk wanted to vote in this country, fought and gave life so that they can vote. I never understood that and argued against it, debated against it, until 9/11. Now, my views have since regressed back to my previous views, but that day, 9/11, I felt American. I felt patriotic. I felt like, yo, whoever did this, let's get them. And it was a feeling that answered a lot of my questions about why people do what they do. On 9/11, the country was united. There was no black, white, Asian, Latino, Native American, you name it, that did not exist. If you was American, you felt your Americanness. That red, white, and blue came across your face, and you wanted to grab the American flag and run after who? An Arab. Suddenly I'm on the other side of racial profiling. Suddenly, I'm not the one being racially profiled. Suddenly, I'm the profiler. Now I know what it feels like when the police officer is looking at me and saying, you just robbed somebody the other night just because of the way you're dressed. You the one that sold the crack last night just because of the way you was dressed. Now, beyond the intelligence, the intellectual part of it, I had an emotional answer. And I sunk into it, all these Arabs. They the ones that don't stop for me in New York, them taxi cabs, the Iranians, the Iraqis, the Saudis, the this, and then it even went over to the Hindus in India who had nothing to do with nothing. But because you looked like you may be part of, now I had to get with myself and feel like, wow, I'm now part of this clique, this American clique. A wealth of knowledge came over me at that time. As a history major, I appreciated that knowledge. I wanted that, and I took it in, and it made me grow. I'm a better man today because of it. But then September 13th, September 12th came, or 12th, 13th, 14th. I started gathering my thoughts again. I said, wait a minute, hold on, hold on. This is the same America, okay, from September 10th. Let's start getting some facts together. After I got over my American thing, I said, now, why did this happen? Why did it happen? Now the why, and I think why came across a lot of people. Started to after September 11th, it was September 12th. Why? Who? What? Where? 4 planes? Because remember, all through September 11th, you was getting one attack after another, and you didn't know if there was a 5th, 6th, 7th. You didn't know what was getting ready to happen. So now, and even the 12th and the 13th, you start to think, well, are we really out of this? Why is this going on? So I joined in with a bunch of people who started to ask why and who's responsible.